Hey fam, what's good? What's good? Welcome back to another one. So now we will be tapping into the market structure section, right? So this will basically be the more advanced market structure, right? So we're going to look at two types of structures, a BOS, a breakout structure, and then also a MSS, right? A market structure shift. Now, a BOS, a break of structure, is literally just telling you that we are having a continuation inside our bullish or our bearish trend, right? So if we are going to look at our actual bullish market right over here, can you guys see that we have some lovely highs, higher highs, low, higher low, right? Now you guys should know this already. Now you guys should know this already. So how do you identify a BOS? A BOS will simply be once we break our highs in our actual upside momentum, right? So if we find ourselves creating higher highs, right, this is us creating some BOSs, right? We are just continuing inside our actual bullish momentum. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Let's look at our actual bear market over here, right? We have some lovely lows, lower lows right there. High, lower high, right? So with our actual bearish structure, right, we want to look at the lows. So once the lows are being taken out, this is once we find ourselves creating some BOSs, right? We are breaking structure. We are continuing in our actual overall market structure, right? So once price is following its structure, this is a BOS, okay? A BOS. Now, the cool thing about BOS is that, you know what, if we're on a bullish market structure and you see that we have a BOS, right, you don't necessarily want to see your lows being taken out, right? So this simply means that you are going to find yourself looking for buying opportunities only, okay? Because you don't want to see your lows being taken out. With our actual bears over here, you don't want to see your highs being taken out. So what are you going to find yourself doing? You are going to prep yourself for some lovely short opportunities, right? You're going to monitor what is happening inside this area and find yourself just following market structure, right? Following the trend. The trend is your friend. Okay, so that is it when it comes down to our actual BOS. Now let's tap into an actual example that is quite, you know what, similar to what we get inside a normal market condition, right? We don't always find ourselves having clear higher highs and higher lows, etc., right? So let's look at an actual bullish market right over here. Now, one thing that I saw was that you guys is following, you know what, you are taking into consideration every swing high, every swing low, right? You are looking at any turning points whatsoever, right? So now I would like you guys to filter out those actual unnecessary trades whatsoever, right? By only focusing on your higher time frame highs and lows. Okay, so your higher time frame highs and lows will literally be everything from your 15-minute upwards, right? Those will basically be your major highs and your major lows. Okay, that right there will be your major highs and your major lows. That's how we're going to classify them. And then everything in between, right, those will basically be like the minor areas, right? Those will basically be the intraday market structure, right? So let's look at this example over here. Can you guys see that we have a nice little swing towards the outside right there? Boom. And then in between, we found ourselves creating some messy price action. But that messy price action right there is actually the correction, right? There we had a nice little swing towards the upside. Created some nice messy price action right there as well. But this right there is actually the correction, right? So everything in between, that is literally just to confuse you guys, right? To confuse us as traders, right? So if you find yourself being correct inside this area over here, cool, then you're going to find yourself having some nice little shift towards the upside, right? But if you are wrong, you know what, you're going to find yourself being inside the other team right there, right? Now, I want you guys to find yourself focusing on your major areas, right? Because your major areas will now literally be, you know what, the more significant areas, right? Your major areas will be the significant areas. Now, where can we find those regions? Right there, right? So these areas will basically be your major turning points, right? So with these highs, this is where you want to see your swing highs, right? And with the lows, this is where you want to see your swing lows. Okay, now check this out. This right there is your major low, right? So if I can maybe do this, boom. What did we say about a BOS? A BOS, we don't want to see our lows being taken out, right? So if this is my major low and this is my major high, everything in between will basically be just to confuse us, right? So you need to find yourself literally look inside this area to how you're going to find yourself just following market structure, right? So if a bullish momentum opens up, right, this is when you're going to find yourself looking for some lovely long opportunities, right? Here you guys can see we have some nice equal lows, right? Their price literally came and found itself taking out the equal lows. So now we're almost probably tapping inside some sort of an actual order block right there, right? Area of demand whatsoever. And there we have our actual shift towards the upside, right? And that's literally how the market moves, right? That's how the market moves. There you guys can now see we have an actual break above. So what will you consider that being right there? A BOS, right? Why? Because we are simply just following market structure, right? We broke this high, created a new higher high right there, right? So after price is doing something like that, you expect some sort of an actual pullback, right? You expect some sort of a pullback. Once price is going to find itself creating a nice little pullback, this is when you can find yourself waiting for your actual nice little pattern, right? And there you can find yourself having a nice little move towards the upside, right? And since price just broke above right there, what will that be considered? It will be a BOS. Why a BOS? Simply because price is following in its direction, right? In its bullish direction. Keep it simple, guys. Keep it simple. Okay, so now we're gonna find ourselves looking at a nice little bearish one. Right now, this is simply just a flip of the bullish one, right? Simply just a flip, right? So now we can basically identify our major areas. Our major areas is always the areas where we found ourselves having the big move, right? The big move. So can you guys see after price had this nice little momentum towards the downside, we created this nice low, right? So after this low, we can see that this is where the move actually started, right? So with this being the move that started off, right, we're going to look at the next area where the next significant move had an actual push towards the downside. And there we can see is this region right there. So that region right there will now serve as your major high, right? And there we had a nice little shift back towards the downside. Boom, created a nice little lower low. After creating that lower low, price found itself having some sort of an actual push towards the upside. Right after that push towards the upside, we found ourselves having a nice little push towards the downside, right? Can you guys see? High, lower high, lower high, right? So that is how market structure moves inside the market, right? That is how it moves inside the market, right? So looking at structure, once again, BOS inside a bearish momentum, you don't want to see your highs being taken out, right? So you're gonna find yourself literally prepping yourself for some lovely short opportunities, right? Once again, price found itself creating some nice equal highs right there. Price literally took out some liquidity and had a lovely shift back towards the downside, creating a what? A lower low. So since price found itself creating a lower low, what will this be considered as? This will now basically be a BOS, a break of structure. Why a break of structure? Simply because we are, you know what, still moving in our overall direction. Okay. After price basically found itself creating this lower low, price had another correction and then have another shift back towards the downside, right? Literally, you wait for a nice little pattern to find itself occurring, and there's your actual entry, right? There's where you're going to find yourself moving with your actual market structure, right? And since price found itself breaking below this low right there, right, this simply means that this is still a BOS, a break of structure, right? You follow your market structure. That's it. And all you're gonna find yourself doing is literally monitor your higher time frame. Okay, higher time frame, 15-minute upwards. Okay, and you follow structure right there. Okay, so that is it when it comes down to our BOSs. Now let's look at our MSSs, right? Our market structure shifts. Market structure shift represents a change in market structure. Okay, now let's look at a nice little bearish market right over here. Right now, you guys now know how to basically identify your major highs and your major low areas, right? Your major high areas, you're just going to look at the area where price found itself having the overall move towards the downside. Okay, so now let's look at the following. Where's your major areas? Right here, right? Your major area will be this turning point where we had the significant shift towards the downside, right? Major high area, significant point where we had the shift towards the downside. Major area point where we had the significant shift towards the downside, right? So since price was bearish in structure over here, right, with us breaking these lows, these are BOSs, right over there, right? Because we are still moving inside our overall market direction, right? But the moment price found itself breaking above a major high area, right, or a major swing point, this is once we have a MSS, a market structure shift, right? This is simply telling us that now, you know what, we are changing our market structure from this bear market into a bull market. Okay, so what are you going to find yourself doing after this? After this, you are simply going to find yourself literally just wait for some sort of an actual pullback, right? And then find yourself looking for some lovely buying opportunities as price will now find itself having some sort of a reversal, right? And that is literally it. After we broke above, this will now basically be our MSS, right? But since we broke above this high, now we are literally following our bullish momentum. So now we are creating a BOS, right? I hope you guys have a clear understanding of, you know what, when it comes down to our market structure shifts. Now let's look at another example. Right, so this example over here will basically be a nice bullish example, right? So if we see that the market is moving towards the upside, right, we know that since we are breaking these highs, this is a BOS, right? Since we broke above this high, that is a BOS, right? Because we are simply following our market structure. Okay, we are simply following market structure. Now, where is our major areas? Our major areas is literally these turning points which we find ourselves creating right over there, right? Those are our major turning points, right? So with you basically knowing where to identify your actual major area, your major turning points whatsoever, right? And you are anticipating some shorts. You want to look for some lovely shorts, right? This is once you're going to find yourself being patient and wait for price to break a major low as we did right over here, right? We just took out some nice sell side liquidity. After price is taking out some sell side liquidity, what do you expect? You expect some sort of a pullback. Now you're going to find yourself waiting for your short opportunity, and now you're going to find yourself looking to short price, right? To sell price. And that is the difference between a BOS, a break of market structure, and an actual MSS, right? So I want you guys to focus on your significant turning points, right? Your significant turning points will literally be these areas over there, right? This in between, right? Find yourself first focusing on these areas before you're going to dive into what is happening in between price. Okay, so I want you guys to filter out at looking at any swing point whatsoever, right? I want you to focus on the major swing points and work your way from there. Okay, so that is the difference between our actual market structure shift and our BOSs. I hope you guys have a clear understanding of what I basically just went through. I'm gonna see you guys in the next slide. It's me, your boy D. I'm out.